We are still processing the transition of our beloved D'Angelo. We loved his music. We loved his soulfulness. We loved his honesty and his approach to living. And we will get into it and a lot more, including OutKast and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, what it all means, and what funkiness is to us. Next up on Mama We Made It with DJ and Reg. Let's rock and roll today, Purse. What's happening?
What's up with you, man? You good?
I am good, sir. How about you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Happy Wednesday to you, my brother. How are things in your world? I know you just said you're doing well, but how are things in your world?
You know what? Smooth right now. But I also haven't had to travel a lot. So you have. So I'm always wondering, man, the TSA scenario impacted you?
Not yet, man. Not
Wow.
yet. It's, knock wood. There have been a couple of places that I've been where there have been prolonged delays, but I've been fortunate to have not traveled on that particular day. And by the day I travel, they've solved for what they're solving for. It makes me nervous in the air. I ain't gonna lie. Like, just all these stories of near misses and, avoidant maneuvers, those types of things. So I've not been caught up in it at all, but it is definitely something I pay daily attention to. How about you?
Hasn't impacted me yet. I'm flying next week, going back to the Midwest for a couple days, and all direct flights. I'm optimistic, but I'm also realistic that some ish could pop off. So
yeah, is Scottsdale, is Phoenix on the list of airports being throttled back? Like Portland was on that list early.
And you can start doing math on that. The cities in terms of which way they lean seem to be heavily impacted, as odd as it might be.
Whatever do you mean, sir?
We have a very intuitive audience, and I know how you roll. So we'll see, man. But I'm, going back to case for some stuff, and I'm excited. So it's not anything I want to cancel first, but there is Zoom.
And I'm excited for you. At some point in time, we need to do an episode just on a deep dive on your academic journey up to and through your doctoral program and what it means on the other side. So we have to figure out how we continue the episode. Because I think the audience would love to hear more about your academic and intellectual pursuits.
I appreciate that, man. I would love to couple that with, I mean this, respectfully, not trying to reduce any attention on me, but your journey in history, man. I think even the legacy of your parents and your dad, man. I would love for us to do that, whether it's a show each or whatever, man. I think it's really, really important.
Let's figure that out. I agree. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mama We Made It with DJ and Reg. That's DJ. I'm Reg. We love doing this once a week on Wednesdays. Today, like everybody else, over the last month or so, we have been processing the transitioning of our beloved D'Angelo and what that means for us. So we want to get into that today, a little bit about our perspective. There's been so many think pieces and so many tributes and so many more to come, and there'll never be enough to truly give the brother his flowers. And it's a bit of, full circleness. We started the show early on. One of our first favorite episodes was the Sly Stone documentary, and this conversation around Black Genius, and done by Questlove. But D'Angelo's all in that documentary, and we talked a lot about his greatness at the time, but who would have thought that in the same calendar year we lose both Sly and D'Angelo to the ancestral realm. So, Purse, you think about D'Angelo, man, you think about his music, his artistry, and just kind of who he was as a brother. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Oddly enough, humanitarian. Boy, that's right up there with musician. But humanitarian, that brother cared about people, man. When he speaks of his music, he speaks of its impact, and he is consistently paying homage to those before him. Mm-hmm. And he's gracious. He's gracious, man. He was eloquent. introspective, but he's a humanitarian, and I hear it in his music. I'll say again, man, my favorite song by him, probably one of the least popular, "Till It's Done," and "Black Messiah." When I listen to it, and I listen to the words, it's timeless, and it speaks to his humanitarianism. So it's a call to action. It's making us more aware, and it's funky as hell. How about you, man? What comes to mind when we think about D'Angelo?
I just remember the beginning, man. I remember Brown Sugar coming out. I remember 1995, and I remember being young in love, and this Soulful project comes out, and it just lands like out of place in time. It was timeless immediately. It was old and new at the same time. And I've always looked at D'Angelo with a kindred spirit of church kid.
Yep.
Right. Like I'm not a musician at all. I play the CD really well, but you could hear it in his music before you hear the stories of his church upbringing and gospel roots and all the things, man. So I just saw church kid, man, and I mean that in the most complimentary of terms, because it ain't easy being a church kid and feeling the tension of the religious and the secular pulling at your talents, pulling at your soul, and you being young trying to figure it out, man. So I always thought he was, a lot like the documentary we talked about, burdened with greatness, with genius at an early age, and he did the work to turn that burden into a gift that he gave to the world, man. And I don't mean that he didn't want the burden, but it just always felt like, man, I got so much talent over here, and I was groomed in a positive way behind that church piano and organ. I learned the art of connecting spiritually. I learned the art of moving a crowd. I learned the art of musicianship in a small little church, in the Richmond area. And when we get to him, man, it's just really, really soulful in a way that moved me, and you could feel it was different. Like I wasn't calling it neo soul right away, but I just remember that coming out, and something felt different. Something felt warm. Something felt, we post acid jazz phase and post kind of London soul phase, and in a world where we were waiting for something we didn't know what it was going to be, it turned out to be D'Angelo and all that came after him, and it always will mean something to me that summer of '95.
Yeah, it's funny you say that about the neo soul, because he would appreciate you not necessarily terming it neo soul.
Sure.
He said, I'm a funk dude.
Yep.
And for him, really interesting enough, man, if you had to take a guess, who would you think he termed the godfather of funk? They pressed him hard. They pressed him hard, person.
Really? If I had to say the godfather of funk, I'd say George Clinton, but I don't know. Who did he say?
He went all the way back to Ray Charles.
Okay.
Right, and he talks about the evolution and how folks picked up, Lionel Richie picking up off that, and it's just, man, he's just an amazing soul to me, man. And when you talk about music to him, the way his eyes lit up, it's sort of like I see you when we talk about history. You know what I'm saying? And we talk about specifically Black history, man, African history. His eyes light up, man. And I talk about him as if he's still with us, but man, spiritually, I'll say this, man. I think about music. One question I love to ask people is, if you were on a journey from New York to LA driving, and you could only take 3 artists with you, anything in their inventory, who would they be? And D'Angelo probably wouldn't fall in there for me, quite honestly. But if you told me I can only take certain songs, he's definitely got one of those songs.
Till it's done.
Till it's done. That's probably half the trip for me.
You play it over and over and over.
Yeah, somebody gonna be mad in the passenger seat. But for you, man, do you hear other artists when you listen to him?
For sure.
Okay, who comes to mind for you?
For sure. And, first of all, the Ray Charles thing makes perfect sense, because another cat who, took the religious and turned it into secular music, right? And his chops very much comes out of that space. You can hear Prince in there. You can hear Sly in there. You can hear some P-Funk in there. You can hear some Ray Charles in there with the organs and the keyboard progressions. I think that it is deeply soulful. So I think that there's a Donny Hathaway quality to kind of his storytelling to a certain extent. I think
a little Jimi Hendrix in there.
There's some Jimi Hendrix in there for sure. For sure. And that's the thing of him. We meet him and he really feels like a keyboard dude, right? And over time, the guitar addition to and the bass addition to his skill set, expands his sound. And watching the documentary Devil's Pie on him, which was a really well done documentary.
Yes, it was.
Listening to them, his band talk about, what the evolution was from Brown Sugar to Voodoo to Black Messiah with Vanguard. It's like, these were three different projects, teams, eras, and it wasn't just coming back to doing Brown Sugar 2 and 3. And so I appreciate how intentional he was with changing the art, even though it was a lot of kind of, as he says, disappearance and reemergence going on all along the way. So I definitely hear a lot in there, man, for sure. And even if I don't hear a lot of things, I'm definitely taken to a retro time.
Yeah.
As futuristic as Black Messiah can feel, it all harkens back to when there was still music programs in the school, and those arts kids after school were in band and doing their thing, and it just felt like a talented cat you went to high school with had made it.
I didn't think about it from that perspective, but it does. It was intertwined with education. Mm-hmm. And by the way, again, thanks as always, man, for turning me on to that documentary. I watched it twice. I love the fact how they interwove the actual performances into the documentary. So the evolution of time, you could feel it and sense it. You've done a great job of, at times, putting me on the spot with some really intriguing questions that I didn't know were coming. I'm going to return the favor.
All right, what you got?
Was he flourishing?
Ooh. It's funny you say that because we had the same conversation about Sly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to say in waves.
Yeah.
In waves. I think being able to get art out is flourishing. It's not an easy thing to do. And even if we only got 4 or 3 real albums and a whole bunch of live performances and features and whatnot, it feels like way more. But he got it out in a way that it felt like it matched the image in his head. So I'll say yes in that regard. I think that there is this thing, man, of the journey of faith that we go on. Mm-hmm. And for some people, you transition from religious dogma to spiritual awakening, and you move, somewhat away from the things you grew up with. For other people, you retrench and you double down. And you just listen to him talk, man, and you could tell his faith will always be foundational to him. You could also see some angst and some frustration with organized religion at the same time. And so, he talks about, us praying at the end of all the performances or before the performances. He talks about this is a faith walk, and I know that. But he also has frustrations about religion, man. So I think that there are fights he was going through there that seem to disrupt a certain sense of flourishing. On balance, I would say that, he's shared with us that, better part of 15 or more years, he was kind of, stuck in a space, man. And that does not feel like flourishing, even though there seems to be some strong self-awareness in there. There sounds like there were some other challenges and demons he was battling. So how it ended for him in this realm, I don't know if it was flourishing all the time. In the world of it's all about legacy, and I look at what he left behind, I absolutely feel like he will be eternal. If that's not flourishing, I don't know what is.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. We all know flourishing is a journey. I think it was complications due to pancreatic cancer is why he ultimately passed. Mm-hmm. And not a lot of folks knew about that person. So you wonder how that impacted him as well, right? When you see your health wane. But I would agree. I think he definitely encouraged others to flourish. And part of maybe him not talking about that was so he could be seen as the messenger that he is. I don't know. I do know I hate to see our people operate and go through life conflicted. Like I really struggle with that. And, there was a lot of that in Sly. To an extent, maybe Prince, who I think emerged out of that. But then I definitely saw it in D'Angelo, man. That really bothers me to see that. I think, personally, my dad probably went through that. And drugs is oftentimes the go-to. So I hope he was, man. I hope he feels he was. I know that brother has added a lot of value. To me, one of the last true musicians.
Feels that way. It does feel
right.
that way. We still got Raphael Sadiq of this generation that feels like he's playing in the same space. And obviously we still got some elders on the scene, Stevie most notably. But yeah, I think that feels that way.
Yeah. And, playing 5, 6 instruments, 4 or 5 instruments, but still paying homage as well.
Yeah.
So kind of speaking of folks that are still here with us, man, you, I know a group that you love, obviously. How you feel about the induction?
Man, shout out Big Boy and 3 Stacks, and congratulations on their induction to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here recently. I feel great about it. And, I was thinking about the timeline of D'Angelo, OutKast, and all that was going on. And it's, I remember, I'm a huge Tribe fan, right? Tribe is my all-time favorite hip-hop group. And when OutKast first dropped, it was the summer of '94, and I was an intern in New York, and then I went to spend some time in Uganda. And I wasn't on OutKast right away. Like, I heard the radio hits, but I wasn't digging in the crates right away. And it took me a minute to get there. But you got, Midnight Marauder and 36 Chambers dropped same day, fall of '93. I'm in grad school. OutKast comes out in '94. Craig Mack comes out in '94. Biggie shortly thereafter. '95, we get Brown Sugar. And in that era, man, OutKast kind of got squozed in my list. I didn't get to it right away. And it wasn't until '96, second album, I was like, oh, there's more than these radio cuts. These cats are doing some things, man. And it has been a constant slow journey watching those cats be dynamic, such that by the time we get to Speaker Box Love Below, I'm fully all in. And, they continue to put pressure on Tribe as my favorite all-time group.
Oh, wow.
Which is wild because my firstborn is the biggest OutKast fan I know. And we used to have debates, not arguments, but debates over, Tribe versus OutKast. And I think his argument holds up. Like, as I look at the body of work now, I think his argument holds up that, there are no misses in their catalog. I certainly want more from them. Some of the stuff near the end of the Tribe run got a little wonky. So, Tribe will always be, seminal for me in a lot of different ways. But OutKast, man, is unassailable in their greatness, and I cannot be more excited for the two brothers and the collective that represents all that they brought to the table?
That's a tough juxtaposition, and we don't need to compare, right? But dang, when you do, that's
and
freaky.
Tribe was your favorite group's favorite group, right? Like Tribe was their favorite, like that's what they were on,
right? That's a tough. So, all right, Nathaniel, you might be onto something, because what I would say is the emergence of Atlanta music, right? There was stuff before them, but what they did for ATL, man, also, that's a tough one. What I'll tell you is they grew on me. I was in Atlanta for part of that.
Yeah.
And I dug them, but it was kind of the Sorry Miss Jacksons, the Rose Park, right? It was the ups. When I really started to dig was much later.
Yep, same.
And I know it's probably being unpopular, but for me, Speaker Box Love Below, the more I listened to that, the more appreciation I had for them as musical artists.
Why is that unpopular?
Huh?
Why is that being unpopular?
I don't know if that's the album folks go to when they talk about OutKast. I don't think that's the first one. I could be off.
Okay.
It's probably Aquamini, whatever. But
Aquemini?
Oh, Aquemini? Did I say that wrong?
I say Aquemini.
Okay, you know what?
I think Miss Jenkins says Aquemini.
I'm gonna fall back on that then.
Yeah.
I sound like I'm on some P-Funk shit, don't I? Talking about Aqua Boogie.
Aqua Boogie? Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was.
That shows you how much I was listening to that. But man, for me, Prototype, She Lives in My Lap, to me, that stuff was hitting.
Roses.
And that was on 3000 stuff. But a lot of appreciation for them. Again, I've told you the story, man. I saw that brother in a PF Chang's banging on the table with chopsticks with a nice little piece with him, man. I was like, man, this is a different brother right here. But man, congratulations to them, man. Well deserved, as prolific as any artist.
So here's the thing. I wanted to put you on, see if you've seen this documentary, The Art of Organized Noise.
No, but I know that has to do with their discovery as well, right?
So it's a great documentary. You should definitely check it out. I rewatched it again, in advance of this episode. The Art of Organized Noise. So Organized Noise is the production trio of Rico Wade, Ray Murray, and Sleepy Brown.
Yeah.
And that's the foundation to the Dungeon family, to include OutKast, Goody Mob, their whole collective. And it was all done in the basement of Rico Wade and Rico Wade's mama's house in Southwest Atlanta. And the documentary is just a fascinating, it's centered on organized noise and kind of what they were doing in the basement with their own version of a studio, and the collective of young 17, 18, 19-year-olds that was hanging out there that created this, world-changing music. It's a phenomenal documentary. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. And a lot of the conversation there follows them from Southern Playalistic Cadillac music all the way through, and you see this rise of this organic movement oriented in, we trying to build, here because we love what we're doing, turning into not just putting Atlanta on the map and not just transforming that sound, but leveraging all that came before them and creating a whole new framework of how we think about the South, man. And to your point, South on top, been on top for a couple of decades now in terms of, what's coming out of the Atlanta and the surrounding area. And it's, it's a beautiful thing, man, because the full circleness of it all is early hip hop has a lot of funk and soul and James Brown in it, right? You get to tipping them and it gets jazzy for a minute. And it feels like OutKast brought you this soulful, dripping with, Southern roots kind of ancestral music, man. And how they were creating, the sound they were creating was fantastic, man. So The Art of Organized Noise is a great story. It's a sobering one because you also see near the end, as they're really getting big, they don't use organized noise as much. And by the time you get to Speaker Box Love Below, them cats are not in it at all. It's from a production trio standpoint, though they're still cool, and it just is a bit heartbreaking. So when you see them do their induction ceremony speech and then performance, and everybody's there, Rico has transitioned on, his mom has transitioned on, but you can see the full collective up on stage, and that was great to see. And them cats got stories, man. Like what I appreciate about their journey as much as anything is that, we're going on 30 plus years of OutKast now, which is crazy. They were young cats. They're still relatively young cats. They got stories for days.
Yes, they do.
They got stories for
yes,
days.
they do.
Maybe one day we'll get them.
Yeah, and we should, because growing up in the South, and again, I spent 3rd, 4th, 6th grade in Atlanta. It's a different existence. Trying to get studio time, I'm sure for them was a different existence. But also, man, to your point, organized noise. They wrote Waterfalls, didn't they, for TLC?
They did. They did.
Going back.
They did.
The other little piece, man, Future, who's also, I think he's a very talented cat, cousin of Rico.
That is correct.
Right?
That is correct.
And spent time in the studio with OutKast.
Yeah.
So the influences, man, and this is why, again, I always bestow so much respect on you as a historian, man. It's actually kind of encouraged me to do more digging like that. Because, again, we can't really talk about Future without talking about OutKast.
At all.
Right? All. And that's important.
And he was prophetic, right? The South do got something to say.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic to see. Here's one for you, man. I was looking at the timeline. So, let's see, get the time frame right. So, OutKast's first album comes out in 94. July 3rd, 1995, Brown Sugar comes out. So there's kind of this, they're in the same swim lane, river of creativity. The week before Brown Sugar comes out, Phyllis Hyman dies. And I remember being in New York. Jill and I were driving on the West Side Highway. We had just graduated from grad school, just gotten back from
that's living,
hanging out. It was a great time, and we were crushed to hear the passing of Phyllis Hyman, and certainly the way she went as well. And then we get Brown Sugar a week later. Not that those two things were connected at the time, but looking back, man, that window of OutKast, D'Angelo, Maxwell, Erykah Badu, a lot of other stuff happened, but those four, boom, 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 boom. That's four. It was critical to my lived experience. There was a lot of R&B and hip hop going on over here, and Bad Boy and over here, and a whole bunch of other people we can't mention no more, all creating amazing sounds in the golden era of hip hop in the 90s. But underneath it all, man, was all this cool stuff. Like, I remember being on loose ends coming into the 90s, right? As we all were. Then you get Brand New Heavies in 91. I remember seeing them at SOBs in 92. You got a little acid jazz. You still had Ronnie Jordan and that kind of stuff coming through. Roy Hargrove, Gangstar does they kind of, jazzy interpretation. You get heavy rhyme experience from Brand New Heavies and Grand Poobah. Like, a whole bunch of stuff was happening. These cats, man, from D'Angelo, Erykah, Maxwell, Bilal on the back end of that, came out of nowhere. Seemingly. And just took over the game. And that's before you contemplate the emergence of Dilla and the Roots and all the things that come afterwards. So it was such a gift, man, that it makes the argument strong for the 90s being as compelling a decade of music as we've ever seen.
Without a doubt. And then we talk about the emergence of Southern rap out beyond Atlanta, right?
Yep.
We can't say what you want. You got the Lil Flips, you got the Ghetto Boys, you got,
Cash
Paul
Money,
Walls,
No Limit.
Cash Money. Dog. It was a heck of a time.
It was a heck of a time. Your favorite decade of music, real quick, as we round the corner on this compelling conversation. What's your favorite decade of music?
Yeah, we can thank Paula Casey for this. I'm a 70s baby.
Same.
Give me them Isley Brothers, man. Tavares, Isley Brothers, stop it, man.
Same.
Hathaway Flat, yeah.
Same.
All day. All
And
day.
the 90s are right there. They're right there with the 70s R&B and, you know, classic rock and all that soft rock and yacht rock and Blue Eyed Soul and psychedelic and Peter Frampton. All that's in there, too.
Elton John, throw it all in there.
All that.
I'm a 70s baby.
Much respect, much love to D'Angelo. We love that brother. We love his sound. We appreciate the legacy of his art, his music, and his care for the people. Much respect to OutKast, Organized Noise, Dungeon Family, and by the way, Salt and Pepper getting a great award. They honored and did a tribute to Sly as well. It was an interesting production. Some of the tribute acts were hit, some were missed. Shout out to Tyler for killing B.O.B., which is one of my favorite OutKast songs. That's a hard act to follow. Doja Cat, get your weight up, sis. This is Mama We Made It. We love our ancestors. We appreciate them. And we continue on this journey. And we will honor and celebrate and spin their wax to the end of time. That's DJ. I'm Reg. Catch us every Wednesday on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Rate us, review us, and subscribe. We're trying to get our weight up. Peace and blessings, everybody.
See you soon.